Hi, welcome. It's me, Makeup by the Numbers, and today was not going to be a recording today. I've got makeup on my shirt, my hair is a mess, but I've been sitting around with my Glow recipe drops on my desk that have been calling to me, reminding me to record it. The bottle is empty, so I need to tell you guys my final opinions and kind of what I thought about this product. So for those of you who don't know, this is the Glow recipe Strawberry PHA Pore Smooth Blur Drops Porifying Blurring Serum. I don't know why they name products long names like that. Nobody can remember that. But here's the product, and it's a soft touch plastic bottle with a matte finish, and you open it at the bottom and you squeeze the product out. I really like this because it's a drop formula, so there's not a lot of waste and there's no crust that forms on the container. And because you open it up at the bottom, you don't have to turn it around and hit it and try to get your product out, because there's no contact required with the squeeze there was a drop in there with the squeeze mechanism. There's a lot of reduced contamination possibilities there, so I really like the fact that it's very, very clean. Now, the pore blurring effect itself, I only gave it about a 3. As you put it on and you rub it in and it dries down, it's going to have a very soft matte finish. It actually gives a suede-like texture. You can feel it on your skin, that your skin has just a little bit more grippiness to it, but it does dry down completely clear, so it does not give coverage. However, with foundation, as you're applying it, if you're using this pore blurring drop primer and you're going on with a mattifying foundation and you're using a pore blurring powder on top of that, and as you're integrating this as part of your skincare routine, it does give an extremely mattifying finish. And that is something that is very significant to me, because I basically have the opinion, if you've seen any of my other videos, that pore blurring primers are basically a scam. Like, there's nothing that they're doing to actually blur your pores, and there's some like quasi questionable science behind it, but at the end of the day, when you put it on your skin, you can't see a difference. The texture of it is, as you saw, it's a little bit runny. It's not very thick. I gave it a 5, which is kind of in my mid-range. It's water-like, but it's not thin as water, but it's definitely not as thick as any of the other primers that I've tried, especially if you think about like the e.l.f. putty primer, right? That's almost a solid. This is definitely more on the runny side, but for it is still creamy. I gave it a 6. Like, it has an emollient feel to it. There's definitely something in it that's substantive, but it's just so much less impactful in terms of the texture. It's really about the finish that it provides, because it is a serum versus a putty versus a pump versus a cream. That was slightly off-putting to me when I first tried it, but actually seeing how the product performs and how easy it is to rub in and how quick it dries down, my hand is completely dry and almost tacky because it's got that rough feel to it. It's dry, but I can feel where it was. That has just kind of given me a new appreciation maybe for the thinner formula, knowing that the serum just rubs in and dries very, very quickly. Now, as far as the smell is concerned, there really isn't a scent to the product. Usually Glow Recipe has a very fruity smell because of the fruity undertones to it, but I gave it a 0. In this one, I just don't smell strawberry at all, which is really disappointing when you're working with Glow Recipe, but that's just me being spoiled because I really like the line. The fact of the matter is, most makeup products don't have a fruity smell, so that's something that I'm okay with it not having. I actually, though, did think it had a little bit of an odor. Even when I opened it, especially when I opened it and it was very pungent to me, I'm sensitive to smell, I gave it a 3. It has a bitter undertone. It fades quickly, though, so it didn't stop me from using the product, but I can still smell it on my hand. If I bring my hand up to right about here, I can still smell that it was there, and it's not nearly as bad once it's been rubbed in and once it's been sitting on your face, but that initial smell is not very sweet. So that's just something to be informed of when you're making the purchase. That being said, maybe some of you do, everybody's sense of smell is different, so maybe you do think it is a little bit more sweet than it comes across to me. To me, it's mostly bitter, but it could be sweet to have that strawberry undertone. It kind of depends on who you are. I don't care for it, but it's not going to stop me from buying the product, and I rated it pretty mildly. As far as coverage is concerned, as you would expect, it's going to give you a 0 coverage. It does go on the face transparently. It is a primer purely for the function that it has and not for coverage. And for luminosity, I gave it a 0. It is extremely matte. It is the most mattifying primer I have ever had. More than e.l.f., more than Cover FX, more than Benefit, more than Rare Beauty. And if there's any others I've tried, it's more mattifying than those. I know that for most of you, maybe you don't want an extremely, extremely mattifying primer. This is not saying it's good or it's bad. This is just saying where on the scale it's at. Since I want a mattifying primer, I'm going to say a 0 for luminosity is absolutely amazing. But for many of you, you might go, wow, that's way too mattifying, and this would not be the product for you, but for my oily skin girls like myself, it's phenomenal. I gave it a longevity of 4 for 4 hours. And that's really good for a primer. It's really good if you're, obviously I would have to test this when you're not wearing foundation, but on those days I could still tell that it had a mattifying effect and I could still feel the texture on my skin for about 4 hours. After that, that's really the maximum length. This is an unusual primer in that Glow Recipe says you can actually use it both morning and evening because it does have BHA, aka salicylic acid. So it does have that skincare property to it. However, I wouldn't necessarily put it on every 4 hours or every time it faded because it can be extremely drying. It's available at Sephora. It's also available on Amazon's store page as well as its own website, and it costs $32 an ounce. $32 an ounce is right about the average of where you expect most mid-tier and consumer level primers to be at. And it's significantly cheaper than some other brands, although way more expensive than drugstore. So it's kind of, I think it's very fairly priced, but considering the effect that it has and what you're getting, I actually think it's a really good deal. It is a silicone-free primer, which does distinguish it from some other primers. I do think it's a little bit interesting that it is the only one that is silicone-free, and it's actually the only one that I liked. So that might be some personal preference and bias, that although that silicone gives it an amazing emollient feel and it makes for a really pleasant product to use, that silicone does not provide the same blurring properties that actually an oil removal would do, right? So do you cover up the oil? Do you blend with the oil? What does the silicone do to interact with the texture of your skin? Versus do we just put on a skincare product that makes our skin a little bit less oily, and at the end of the day know that that's better for our product? I am leaning a little bit into the skincare aspect of it because I've seen for myself the benefits that it has, but I'm not an expert on the subject, and I would love to know exactly what silicone is doing. Now, the Glow Recipe does say it's for all skincare types. I saw that on the Sephora page as well, where it's for dry, normal, oily, and combo skin, and I would just tell you to stay the heck away from this product if you have dry skin. Salicylic acid and BHA formulas tend to be very drying on the skin. That's what they do, is they remove your skin's oils, and that can include the natural oils, so you'd actually be stripping that away from your skin. Now, one way to combat that is to simply moisturize afterward and use a hydrating serum or a really effective moisturizer. But when in doubt, don't. When in doubt of changing your skin's chemistry and pH and oil content, generally you want to correct the problems that your skin has, not create new ones. So I would be cautious of using this product if you don't have oily skin. If you have rough or flaky skin, but it's not otherwise dry, BHAs can have exfoliating properties. They can help chemically remove some of those dead skin cells. So it wouldn't be the worst product to try, but I would be cautious if your skin is dry. Due to those other factors. However, if you know that you have oily skin, salicylic acid is one of the best products on the market, and this is a BHA, aka that is salicylic acid, that is their active ingredient. It is one of the absolute best products that you can do skincare wise, and this is in a very easy to use and user-friendly formula that wasn't very harsh for daily wear. So overall, I gave this product a whopping 8. I know. Cover FX and Benefit got 1, Elf got 1, Rare Beauty got 3. Like, to get an 8 for a pore brilliant primer from me is like is incredible. I will say that the one thing that I knocked it points off for was the smell. For me, it's not a deal breaker. I still love the product. As I already said, I'm going to rebuy it, but that is something that did detract from the overall product. And the second reason I didn't like it is because it is just a little bit thin, which means it's a little bit easy for me when I need one drop to pour 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 and get a little bit too much product. But that is very, 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 very small. This is an absolute astonishing product. I think Glow Recipe nailed it with this one, and I'm already going to rebuy it. So thank you so much for watching. I know my reviews are fast and dirty, but that's how I like them. I want to get to the root of the question, so thank you for watching. Remember, true beauty is on the inside. It doesn't matter whether you have oily skin, whether you have pores, or whatever it is. That's not the measure of who you are as a person, and I support you as a person, but thank you for watching me and supporting me. Have a great day. Bye.